I don't wanna waste a minute. Don't have any plans, wing it. If you got a glass, fill it. Cause I need it done. Money is a bitch in it. I don't wanna think about it. So if you know the song, sing it. Cause I need it done. Take me to a place where the music's loud. I don't wanna think right now. Flashing lights running through the crowd. I don't ever wanna stop. So let's get out. Let's get out. I got money in my pocket and I'm about to fucking drop it with you now. With you now. Tear the roof off every building. I know I'll be spending millions with you. Just tell me what you wanna do. So let's get out. Let's get out. I got money in my pocket and I'm about to spend it all. I don't wanna waste a minute. Don't have any plans, wing it. If you got a glass, fill it. Cause I need it now. Money is a bitch in it. I don't wanna think about it. So if you know the song, sing it. Cause I need it now. Take me to a place where the music's loud. I don't wanna think right now. Flashing lights running through the crowd. I don't ever wanna stop. So let's get out. Let's get out. I got money in my pocket and I'm about to fucking drop it with you now. With you now. Tear the roof off every building. I know I'll be spending
the Almost Awesome Show, episode 19. We're almost to 20 episodes. I don't know, somehow it seems like I've been doing this longer and not that long all at the same time. But anyway, here we are with episode 19. Here to that nice sultry sound voice you hear there would be our good friend Nick. Nick is always. I'm sorry, I forgot your moniker.
Yes, you're right, sir.
But Nick as always is here with us today. Nick, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm tired. Let's get this shit rolling. I want to talk some Maxine, or I just want some Maxine. I don't know. Let's just do this. I don't know.
You need some triple X Maxine in your life. I hear you.
That's right.
It's worst things that people could have in their lives, but. So yeah, guys, we don't have a ton of stuff to go over today because most of the movie entertainment news in general was this weekend at D23, and we did that on Saturday. Wasn't a whole lot. We're going to talk about one thing that came out of that later, but beyond that, not a lot. But I do have some stuff to talk about, and hopefully you guys like it. And we do the centerpiece of today's show will be a... I don't know if I want to call it a spoiler review, but it's going to be a spoiler talk about Clerks 3. We can now talk spoilers. It had a weird embargo thing where, like, we could talk about the movie after a certain day, but you couldn't talk spoilers until a certain day. So, okay, open season now. And Nick and myself are going to talk about our thoughts, our spoilery thoughts on Clerks 3. And I don't think it'll take too long. It's not going to be a play-by-play or anything. But there's some things. We need to get some stuff off of our chest. We need to talk to you guys about some things and clear some things up when it comes to that film. But before we get there, let's jump in to this week's News Bits. Those little stories that aren't quite big enough for their own story, but we still don't want to forget about them. We want to talk about them a little bit. And there's a few things, a few little snippets here. Some of it comes from this weekend's D23, and some of it is just some other random stuff. That first thing that we're going to talk about comes from D23, and that would be that Daredevil, you know, Netflix's Daredevil, Charlie Cox, the beloved Daredevil, which awesome show, by the way. If you haven't seen it, I think you have to go to Disney Plus to watch it now, but it's an awesome show worth checking out. Quick question before I jump into that, Nick, do you know, have they done any editing or anything to that show? Or is it the same show that it was on Netflix?
They did not neuter it. They kept all the shows the same, but they have like a parental guidance feature or some nonsense. But no, it's all unedited, so there's blood and gore and probably some curse language, some drug use, good stuff.
Oh, yeah, the good shit. So, yeah, check out Daredevil. That was one of the really refreshing, cool things about it is it was I get R-rated, that's what we called it, Marvel thing, and it was really fucking cool. So I loved Daredevil. I don't think I finished season 3. I might be confused there. I don't know. And it spawned the Defenders, which was like their version of the Avengers, and I liked that too. I liked all the shows. Iron Fist was a little weak, but I enjoyed all of them to a degree. It is definitely worth checking out. But Daredevil has been picked up by, well, they're all picked up by Disney now. Disney took them over because they bought, they own Marvel, so I guess the rights just went back to them. But Daredevil, that character, that version, is coming back, or is coming into the MCU, even though those shows already took place in the MCU, because they do talk about New York and stuff like that. But it was teased that he would be showing up in the She-Hulk show, which is now going, and apparently we found a little bit more info about that this weekend, that he is going to be in it, but he is only in one episode. So it's kind of like a backdoor pilot for Daredevil's new show that will be showing up on Disney Plus called Daredevil Born Again. And as far as that show goes, Charlie Cox said that there is going to be a bit more levity in it, is the word they used, than the previous version of the show. He did say that he still wants to remain truthful to the tone of the comics, but with a bit of levity. Which, what that says to me is they're going to insert some of that good old Marvel comedy that we all love so much, that just, breaks down any kind of dramatic tension you have. What are your thoughts on this, Nick? All this, I guess.
He did catch a brick, so hey, anything's possible in the world of Daredevil. Whatever. We'll see. I'll see it when it comes out. I did watch the first two seasons like you did, not the third season, unfortunately. It's nice that they're bringing D'Onofrio back as Kingpin, like the last couple, with whatever the last thing he was in, Hawkeye or some shit. Yeah, I mean, sure, just make it good. That's all I care about. I look at it this way: if they keep like, they're not going to make it as violent as the other one. They're not going to make it rated M. Just make it fun and entertaining. Just make a good Daredevil property. Don't do the shit they did in 2003 or whatever.
I don't think
Just do something. I hope not.
And this is coming from somebody who usually shits on Disney. I don't know if they'll go down that road, but yeah, I'm with you. I just hope they're going to nerf it to a degree, but it'll be like hardcore for Disney. But I
no Karen doing like coke or whatever she did in that TV series.
Yeah, I doubt very much it's going to be nearly as R-rated or adult as it was when it was on Netflix, and that's unfortunate. That was one of that gritty turn for it. Really worked for that character. Daredevil was a character that I was always like, he's a blind guy. I mean, I didn't really care, but they made him really cool in that show. Like that was an awesome show. But I'm with you. I just hope they make a good show. Now I don't hold out. I'm cautiously optimistic. I love that character. I love the actor who plays that character. I love that world they created. But Disney going to Disney, and they're already Disneying here before it even gets started. Oh yeah, we're injecting some levity. Yeah, you're putting Marvel comedy in it. God damn it! How many people? I mean, haven't most people kind of gone on record saying, yeah, too much Marvel, too much. The comedy is becoming too much, and it does like break up tension and stuff like that. Just leave that shit out of it. Just make Netflix already gave you a template. You own it. Just make that. Everybody who was involved with it, all the directors, the writers, just get them back on board and just make more Daredevil. That's people will be happy if you do that. But
we have what 2 years of bitching to do. Maybe they'll listen to us finally.
Does it not come out for 2 years?
I think it's like 2024 or something like that. Yeah.
Holy shit! I thought it was coming sooner than that. Well, damn. Well, Daredevil Born Again is coming in 2 years. I really thought it was before that. But you can get a little dose of Daredevil in the She-Hulk show. I don't know what episode, but it's not going to be a lot because apparently he's just showing up for one episode. He made it sound like it'd only be like a few scenes, if that. So he's probably going to show up on a rooftop or something and be like, I'm Daredevil. You're really
Hey, you want to hear you want to hear something funny? So, Daredevil Born Again is a comic book from 1986 written by Frank Miller and drawn by David Mazzucchelli or Celli or however you say his name. You want to hear what the story details of Daredevil Born Again are?
Absolutely. It's Frank Miller,
the
so
story...
I can only imagine.
Oh, yeah, right.
Disney does
story
Frank
details... the story details Daredevil's descent into insanity and destitution at the Kingpin's hands, as well as subsequent struggles to build a new life for himself. The storyline was loosely adapted into the third season of the TV series. So it's about him going insane and having destitution thanks to the Kingpin.
So neither of us have seen season 3. But you're saying that it was loosely adapted in season 3, so all they're doing now is adapting season 3 to this new show. So season
I guess
4 or season 1, depending on how you look, it's the same character. Is it just going to be the same thing as season 3? Okay, whatever. But I don't know. I will withhold judgment until I see this thing. But who knows? In 2 years, who knows where Marvel will be? Maybe I'll be back on the Marvel bandwagon. It ain't looking good, but you never know. We'll see. I can't really.
Thor: Love and Thunder's on Disney Plus, sir.
Oh yeah. Thor: Love and Thunder, and they've made changes to that too, by the way. So those of you who to go see the, I'm going to just say a different version. I'm not going to say Superior. I haven't watched it. I just saw how they made some changes to it. So go check that out.
No ass.
Anyway, next in line. Speaking of superheroes, Blue Beetle. You familiar with Blue Beetle, Nick?
Yeah, it's that character that runs around in my house, looks blue. I can't kill it. That thing? Yeah.
Sure. I am not gonna lie. I knew the name when I heard the name. I was like, okay, I've heard that name. I don't know shit about Blue Beetle.
Nobody knows what the Blue Beetle is. Nobody fucking knows Blue Beetle. It's like when Guardians of the Galaxy came out and everybody's like, oh, I know Guardians. Get the fuck out. You don't know fucking Guardians of the Galaxy. Get the hell out of here. No, I knew of the character Blue Beetle, but I don't know anything about it. I know the kid from Cobra Kai's in it. The Miguel, I think, is playing the main character.
Yeah, he is. Blue Beetle and Guardians, prior to their movies, they were like, they probably showed up in like animated movies as like side characters or something for like the Blue Beetle fan. Just
Yeah.
there's really just one. Anyway, I guess the character he's being played by. I don't have the guy's name. The guy who played Miguel, his name I think is Zoe or Zozo or Zolo or something like that. It's XO or something like that. Whatever. I guess he's of Spanish descent, obviously. I guess Blue Beetle is. Oh, I froze. Hang on.
Yeah, it's Zolo Maraduena. He froze, so I'm gonna take over
I'm
the
back.
show and talk about where's that picture of that
No.
pack? No. Zolo Maraduena.
Yeah. Well, he is.
Or no, marijuana.
Mar-
Marijuana. I'm sorry.
I'm glad
gonna
you had
sound
to
racist
say
here in
that
a
because I
second.
would have butchered it even worse. But he's of Spanish descent. So
Yeah.
I guess the character Blue Beetle is of Spanish descent. I do not know. But according to Susan Sarandon, who is playing the villain in the Blue Beetle movie, that is now going to
Really?
theaters, by the way, not just it was originally going to HBO Max. It survived David Zaslav's cutting spree, but it is now going to theaters, and according to her, it will be in Spanish with subtitles.
Wait. First of all, I just gotta say this. Her nickname is Victoria Cord in the movie. So okay, so they're gonna release it in America with subtitles in Spanish. Is that what you're saying?
That's what she said. I'm, you know what
That
I mean.
is, okay.
She went on
I
a
know
talk
this
show and
is
said
sound
that,
weird. Yeah, I know that sounds weird down here in like Florida, the South. You know, where a lot of people come from, like Cuba and stuff like that. That could be cool because you know they now have a superhero they can attend to. But it just there's going to be a lot of people that won't like that. If you know anything about people in subtitles, a movie,
Yeah.
I'll watch it because that does sound cool. But people in subtitles, they don't usually mix.
I don't.
Unless it's like
yeah, we don't
Parasite
mind
or something like
subtitles,
that.
but a lot of people do
Yeah.
not like subtitles, and that's a big barrier of entry for them. And now, with our current climate, some people might be like, "Oh, there's probably something you're doing something wrong if you don't like subtitles." It means I don't know, something bad. But yeah, I found that kind of odd. I wouldn't mind because if he's of Spanish descent character, it would make sense if like his character, because I assume it takes place in America. I don't know. It may take place in Mexico or South America or whatever, something like that. I have no idea. And I guess then still, I think that the subtitles in the movie, especially for a superhero movie, I mean, it's nice PR, but I don't know if it really translates to box office receipts. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. But if you had like his character like at home, out of character, like speaking in Spanish and those subtitles, I think people are okay with that. But if the vast majority of the movie is subtitled, I have no problem with that. But a lot of people will, and not because he's speaking Mexican or whatever, but no, because they don't want to read subtitles. A lot of people don't watch foreign films for that reason.
Yeah.
That is just what it is. And I don't even think it's a elitist or I don't know what you call it. Right? I'm going to use the term racist or something like that.
No,
It's just because they
honestly,
don't want to fucking read it.
I'm telling this is what I've learned watching the many movies that I've had my entire life. Some of the best movies that I've seen are subtitled, and of course Parasite won Best Picture, and of course Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is subtitled. But I can tell you right now, I can name 99% of the people that I know will not watch a subtitled movie because it has subtitles in a different language.
Yeah, and they just
They
don't
want to
wanna
watch
read
that.
it.
Yeah, it's like when I was watching the Cyberpunk 2077, the Edge Runner game, the Edge Runners movie or show. Like I was watching it in Japanese language, and I turned it to the English language dub, and it was awful. So I'm like, yeah, we'll just go back to Japanese.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, I think that some critics, things like that, we don't mind. That's not a
Yeah.
problem for us. We're used to it. And some of the best movies I've ever seen were subtitles. Amelie, it's a French film, fucking amazing movie. I love that movie. Like you mentioned, Parasite, things like that. I could keep on going. The list. However, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, by the way, I do want to point out on the DVD has an amazing dub.
Yeah.
And by amazing, I mean it's. So I think Michelle Yeoh actually did her dub because it sounds like her, but the guy who plays Chow Yun Fat or does his vocals is some British guy. It just does not. I love it though. It's I love it. They say it all with conviction. But anyway, all that aside, yeah, this seems like an odd choice to me. I know that maybe they're trying to say, hey, yeah, we're representing the character and these people and all that, and that's great. But at the end of the day, you're making a movie that for your largest market, you're an American or a U.S. company making a movie that for a U.S. audience. And yes, you want to have another audience that can enjoy it as well. And I'm with you there. But to put the whole thing in subtitles is just, it's a bold movie. It's a bold move, Cotton. I'll give him that. Bold move. I have no problem with it.
Let's see how this plays out, Cotton.
Yeah. I have no problem with it myself. I just think that whatever success this does or does not have, if it is wholly subtitled, it could have more. And that just is what it is, the language barrier that's a real thing. And I'm with you. I think the vast majority of people out there, and of course anyone who's watching this, there'll probably be comments, I don't mind subtitles movies, they're blah, 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 blah. That's you, and that's great. Me too. But a lot of people don't, or do mind it and won't watch it. So it's bold. And her comments were very, they were vague, but she said it was shot in Spanish. She made it sound as if, and that was the headline, that the movie is going to be in Spanish with subtitles. Now, if this shit comes out and then it's just like, oh, a couple of scenes are in Spanish with subtitles, I'm gonna be like, what the fuck, you lying bitch.
I mean, hell, Cobra Kai's in Cobra Kai when Miguel talks to his mother Carmen is in Spanish.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, and people are okay with that as long as the vast majority of the movie is in their native tongue. I think that's when it's not, and it's not a bad thing. These people just don't want to sit there and read it, and I get it. I mean, it doesn't bother me, but it's fine. That's just people's preference. So we'll see what happens, but just know if you're looking forward to the Blue Beetle movie and you don't like reading while you watch, you might have some difficulties with this movie. Maybe they'll give like an epic dub. I don't know. Or do that thing that Prey did, where I'm sure that takes a lot. They shot like the whole movie twice pretty much, or like the spoken lines. Isn't that what they did? It wasn't just a dub. They actually shot scenes that were in Comanche.
They shot it twice. They shot both movies, one in Comanche and one in English.
Yeah, do that. Which, I mean, if you think about it, it wouldn't be the whole movie because it's only when they were speaking that they would have to shoot that twice. Yeah. But try that out. You want to go all in? Do that. Include everybody then. All right, so anyway, after that, we got a little informational piece I want to give out here. We had a scare a few weeks back, Nick. Maybe a little bit more than a few weeks back. We had a scare. If you recall,
yeah, I lost my bottle of alcohol. I couldn't find it. It was a real bad scare.
Much scarier than that.
I'm sorry.
Much scarier than that. That's scary though, but much scarier. We had the production of The Witcher season 3 had to be halted, and it was because Henry was sick. Henry got COVID.
I don't like this. Nope, don't like it.
Our thoughts and prayers were with him, and we were being a guiding light, we as a whole human race, to see Henry through this thing. Henry Cavill. He felt our love, and he's pulled through, and they have wrapped production on season 3 of The Witcher. Still no release date, but I just want to, I mean, that's news, yes, because I love The Witcher. I know season 2 had some people that didn't love it as much, but I really love The Witcher, the Netflix show, and season 3 is complete.
He got our coin, man. We threw a coin at The Witcher, and he got it.
Yes, I tossed him all my coins. But production is completed. They're going to do post-production now, and then we'll eventually get the show. Probably going to be a few months because there's a lot of effects in that show. But it is coming. We're still getting it, so that's good news. But the big news here, as I said, Henry is safe, everyone. Henry is safe.
Yeah.
So the world can continue on.
In my invisible bottle to
it's a green screened out bottle. So just to put everybody's mind at ease, Henry is safe. All right. Something that wasn't safe, Nick, and something we've talked about quite a few times here would be Batgirl, because it got axed by David Zaslav.
Oh, yeah.
Now, other people that were involved with the project are big people, big names. They're finally coming out and talking about this movie and their thoughts on it. One of those people will be Michael Keaton. You like Michael Keaton quite a bit.
I do, even though when he doesn't know anything about the movies he's in. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true. That was another story from a while back. I saw that too. But he's like, I don't. They were like, what about this movie and that movie and all these superhero movies? I was like, I don't know. I don't watch those movies. They were like, well, you were in this one. I know. I knew about my scenes. That was it. I was like, hey, you know what? Right on, man. But anyway, Michael Keaton was asked at the not the Grammys. What is it? The mini Oscars, the Emmys. He was asked about the cancellation.
yeah, because he won an Emmy.
Yeah,
he won an Emmy for Dope Sick.
Yeah.
Cool.
He was asked about the cancellation of Batgirl and what he thought of it, and his comments were, "I think it was a business decision. I'm going to assume it was a good one. I really don't know." And that's it. And I think people were expecting him to talk some shit or something because, it was a movie.
He doesn't know. He just dressed up as Batman one day, popped up on the set of Tim Burton's film, and they're like, hey, you know what? Go with it. And now he's just like, hey, are they handing me a check? He's like, cool. He just goes on. He doesn't even know why he's there half the time. He's just like, I'm Batman. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But, well, he put it out. I think that because they went probing, because apparently they asked a few questions about it, kept on probing, and he was just every time like, I don't know. It was a business
decision. I don't
issue.
give a shit.
Yeah.
I just won an Emmy for fucking Dope Sick. Talk to me about that. I don't give a shit about Batgirl.
And this was apparently backstage right after he won an Emmy. They go straight into Batgirl. He was Jesus Christ.
That reminds me. I don't know if you're going to talk about it, but did you see what Brendan Fraser said?
I saw he spoke on it, but no, I didn't. I didn't have a chance to look at it. What did he have to? While we're here, what did he have to say?
He said it was more meant for the small screen, and next time maybe it's better to work with it, because he was talking about Darren Aronofsky. He's like, maybe it's just better to work with trusted directors next time. I'm like, oh shit! Shots across the board.
So I mean, that sounds like Brendan Fraser was kind of confirming what a lot of people, because there's been like this thing on both sides. Some people say, no, it was a fantastic, even though they haven't seen it. It's a fantastic movie, and they're just taking it down because of this, and they have fantastic directors because they made Ms. Marvel. And then you had the people on the other side like, well, I'm hearing it wasn't so great, and David Zaslav was saying, this movie was not good. We're getting rid of it. We don't want to pump any more money into it. It's not worth it. Sounds like Brendan Fraser, who was part of the movie, is saying, yeah, they weren't doing such a hot job. I don't know. That's how I take that comment to a degree.
Yeah.
But Michael Keaton said, I don't fucking know. It was a business decision. They know what they're doing, and I assume it was a good one. Moving on, Emmy. So it sounds like things are coming out. The things that on the Batgirl front have, and the whole Warner Brothers front have kind of started to, pad out a bit. But from what these two are saying, it sounds like it was probably the best decision. I know we kind of all want to see it, either for varying different reasons. And I still attest to one day, I think we'll see something of that movie. But I think what we're going to finally see is, ooh, that was a good idea. This shouldn't have happened. Anywho, last little news bit of the day. We're going to transition from movies to video games for a minute. Bonnie Ross, who is the head of 434 Industries, who are the company or the studio that make the Halo franchise ever since Halo 4, is stepping down. She is leaving the company. And she has been in charge of it, I think, since 434 was invented back in 2010.
Yeah, when Halo 4 came out.
Yeah, I think it was between 2010 and 2014. 12. She has been in charge over there. She is stepping down. And people are losing their minds on both sides. The fans of Halo are saying, you had a good run, Bonnie, but you made some decisions we didn't agree with. Maybe this is for the best. Maybe they'll get somebody in there who, will do at least something different or something. They're going to take the franchise, because, the franchise has had its up and downs. And the game itself, I still attest to the fact that online, like the multiplayer and the single player of that game, are fantastic. It's a fantastic game. But it has been handled very poorly, is my understanding.
Yeah. Halo 2 is considered like almost the grandfather of fucking multiplayer, online multiplayer. So
yeah, well, Halo, that's Bungie, so that was done to them.
I'm sorry. Retract that. I'm sorry. Anyways, Bonnie Ross.
Yeah, she's Halo 4 and up.
Yeah,
but Halo 4, I know it caught some shit, but I honestly, overall, I think it was fairly well received. I think most people were like,
Better
what's their
than
first
Guardians.
one? And they did pretty good. That was the one. That one got a lot of shit. People did not like that story. It was the lesser of all of them, in my opinion, as well. And then Master Chief Collection was a disaster when it came out, but it did build back up and became a fantastic game that it is now, and is still played quite a bit online. And Infinite is really sad because it's just a fantastic game that has been just getting handled. It's after release, and it's while it was being released, it's just been handled very poorly. But it's a great game, so they at least know how to make a game. I'll give them that. So maybe they just need somebody to come in there and manage the studio properly. I don't know who that will be. I know Jason Stamper. Is it Stamper? He was one of the original founders of Bungie. He came back to Bungie for that last year, the year that Halo Infinite got delayed. He came back to Bungie to help them. And, I mean, not Bungie, 434. So I'm wondering if he's still there, maybe they'll offer him the job. I have no idea. I don't know who's going to be taking over. They haven't said that, but she's stepping down. Now, the fans are all like, okay, this could be a good thing. Cool. You know, we haven't liked the direction things have been going overall, so maybe somebody else, fresh blood. But then the other side, of course, are like, ha, 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 she's terrible. That was a terrible fucking game, and I blah, 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 blah. I'm like, come on, guys. Just, why? Why? And people are like talking shit because she's stepping down. Some people are saying she's actually getting fired. But they usually when you're in these top level positions, you get fired, but they allow you to go out gracefully and say, I'm leaving due to this. She said she's leaving due to family medical issues. No specifics given as of right now, which they shouldn't. It's her personal business. I don't know. Maybe if she is getting fired, it wouldn't surprise me, honestly.
I get the perfect replacement.
Oh God, what?
And it's not Pac-Man. Hold on. I got the perfect replacement.
The Mandalorian or Grogu? Oh no, Kathleen Kennedy.
You all love her, you know.
You know, people do give her a really hard time, and I don't know the woman personally, unfortunately, but she's been involved with some really beloved, you know,
she's
well
the most
received
successful
things.
producer in history.
Yeah, she has done. It's not until the past few years, like say the past 5, 6, 7 years, that people have really started shitting on her. She before that was in some powerhouses that people absolutely love. So I mean, you got to give that woman at least that much respect. But who knows? Maybe maybe Kathleen Kennedy will leave Lucasfilm and come on over to 343. And I mean, it's Microsoft. They're a big fucking company. They got the money.
Right.
I doubt it, but I assume we will get somebody because that's a big thing. People want to know, okay, who's in charge of it now? I'm curious though, if whoever they get to come in there, are they going to like fast track fixes to try and, because people are kind of to the point where they're like, all right, Halo Infinite, as far as its like plans moving forward with its multiplayer and everything, ship has sailed, we give. I'm wondering if they're going to get somebody to come in and try and revitalize that, because they really wanted that to be like a thing for a long time. So are they willing to just give up on it that easily, or are they going to start a whole new thing, or are they going to have somebody come in and be like, right this ship, and then we'll do the next thing? I don't know. But we will find out soon, I suppose. Okie dokie, everybody. That was this week's News Bits. Those little stories that we didn't want to forget about, but didn't quite warrant their own part of the show. If there was a story that we missed prior to this recording, and you wish we had gone over it, put it in the comments below. Let us know what you thought about all this stuff. What do you think about Charlie Cox's Daredevil showing up in only one little episode of She-Hulk? Also, his show, Born Again, that apparently is 2 years away. What do you think of that and what they're saying about the comedy? Susan Sarandon speaking in Espanol throughout the entire movie of Blue Beetle. The Witcher 3 has wrapped production and Henry is safe. Michael Keaton's comments on Batgirl, and Bonnie Ross leaving the Halo franchise behind. Let us know in the comments below. And moving on to the next thing. So, our first story of the day. None of these are big stories today, by the way, people. Just FYI. Actually, there's 2 of them. I had to compile 3 different stories into one to make it one story. So, and I also, we did not, typically I will let, in the lead up to this, I'll let Nick know, hey, we're talking about this. Yeah, I didn't tell him shit today. Except for
you wanted the same
Clerks.
reaction that you had for fucking, what was it we were talking about? Oh,
Demolition
yeah,
Man?
Pinocchio.
Oh, yeah, Pinocchio. All right. So let's jump on into our first story of the day, and that would be Knives Out 2, a.k.a. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, which I think they should just drop the whole Knives Out moniker, but whatever, because it doesn't really... Knives Out was very specific to that story, but I digress. So a lot of information has come out here the past few days about Knives Out 2, and that's because it is at TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, and it was screened
sons of
there.
bitches.
Yeah, and it's screened there, and we're going to talk about that for a moment, and a couple of other things. First and foremost, Glass Onion, a Knives Out story, had an early screening during this year's Toronto International Film Festival. Hang on just a second, sorry.
You got a half-ass cheek?
Sorry about that. I'll cut it in post.
I said you got split in half. Like it's a half-ass cheek.
Oh, yeah. Oh. That's how it works. I'll pull full cheeks on there next time. Anyway, it premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival, and it looks like early reactions are looking very good. Not just good, but very good. I got a couple of snippets here. There was a lot of them, of tweets. None of them are spoilers or anything like that. But just to get an idea of what people are saying about it, no, I didn't include their names, just what they said. So this is all people that have seen the movie at TIFF. Apparently, Glass Onion is an absolute blast, bigger, crazier, and funnier than the original, and believe it or not, even twistier and more ambitious than I think it's supposed to be than the original. Rian Johnson just one-upping himself on every level. Also, Rian Johnson's Glass Onion is loaded with surprises that no one knows, is way different than the first film, but just as awesome and very funny. Going to be a huge hit for Netflix. And Rian Johnson has done it again. Glass Onion is even better than Knives Out. Ooh. And superbly crafted murder mystery with more entertainment bang for your buck than anything else you'll see this year. Pleasure doesn't get much simpler or more satisfying than this. And lastly, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, is a blast, like everyone hoped. Funnier, more clever, and sharper than the first. Any question or flaw I had got answered as it unfolded. Rian Johnson really has the whodunit down to a science. Fun times at the movies is all I ask for. So that's what they're saying about it. They're saying that it's pretty fucking great if you listen to and there's a whole lot more tweets from the people that put it out there.
It's almost like Rian Johnson is a good director or something. It's almost like maybe The Last Jedi was a fluke for a lot of people. I don't know.
You could be onto something there, but we're not going to get into that because that's a whole entire show to talk about that movie. But
anyways, back to what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the damn movie. Now, I will go ahead real quick and I won't spend a lot of time on this. When it comes to Knives Out, and this is the unpopular opinion, no, I didn't not like it. I enjoyed the film.
Right, where's my Pac-Man picture?
No. I liked the movie. I liked Knives Out. I did enjoy it. I didn't love Knives Out as much as a lot of people. People lost their ever-living minds over that movie when it came out. I thought, because I saw it after everybody else. When it came out, or when I finally saw that movie, do you remember how much people were talking about this fucking movie?
Yes, I was one of them.
Yeah.
That movie made my top 10 of the year. Like the first year I ever did reviews.
Well, I fully expected for this to be like the greatest movie ever made when I saw it. And that might be part of the problem. I went into it with such high expectations because I had spent like all this time hearing about how great it was. Because I saw it like a while. It was like a month or two after it came out. I'd heard nothing but good stuff about this thing. And I saw it and I was just like, it's fine. It was good. I enjoyed it. So I'm thinking maybe I need to watch it again and I'll see its just amazingness. It was a really well-made movie. I did enjoy it, and I like whodunits. So going into that, hearing about Glass Onion, everybody's losing their mind about that now. I only have that to play off of, so I'm kind of like, two things.
Well,
First of all, Glass Onion is a sequel to a movie I thought was fine. It was good. So yeah, okay,
yeah.
look forward to it. Also, early reactions, and we've talked about that here on the show before. Early reactions are almost always positive, unless the movie is total dog shit. Early reactions are fairly positive usually. What were you saying?
No, I agree with you because especially when it comes to because it premiered at TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, and a lot of times you'll see movies get like standing ovations, like I don't know, Don't Worry, Darling, or something like that. It ends up being a shitty movie, which I haven't
Ovation
seen.
does not count unless they timed
Yeah.
it. By the way, just saying.
Yeah, if it's not 14 minutes, it doesn't count. No. I understand like your worry. The only thing that kind of sets this movie apart and some of the other part of movies at TIFF are people that I interact with somewhat on Twitter, like Connor Carey and Mainly Movies, and there's another person I can't remember who it is, but anyways, they were all saying its praises. And sometimes, like if you go into a screen like that, your hype level is over through the roof and stuff like that. So we'll see when it comes out, but I trust that they have some comprehension and made some decisions that it's good.
Oh, I fully acknowledge that the movie is probably good. I do think
Yeah.
that it is going to be. I don't think this is going to be a bad movie. I feel very confident in Ryan
But
Johnson's.
is it overhyped? That's the problem.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is it overhyped? I don't know. I mean, for me, yes, it's overhyped because I wasn't crazy hyped about the first one. But once again, I went in with such high expectations that maybe I need to. Sometimes, you watch a movie when it first comes out and you're just kind of a little disappointed because of the hype, but then you see it like a few years later and you're like, damn, that was actually really good. It's like it changes your perspective. I think that's what I need to do with Knives Out. I need to give it another watch, and maybe it'll change that perspective. I don't know. But I do think this will be a good movie. I don't think it's going to be bad, so I take solace in that. Also, about Knives Out, that's not all the Knives Out information and fun we have today. Ryan Johnson said someone asked him about, because I think he's making what, 2 movies? Two.
Yeah, they paid for 2, I think.
Yeah, he's making 2 of these movies
$1
for
billion
Netflix.
or whatever.
2 Knives Out universe movies.
Yeah.
Knives Out-averse. Well, now Onionverse, I suppose. But he said, I am going to keep making these Knives Out movies until Daniel Craig blocks me on his phone. So he said he'll go beyond those 2. He'll keep on making these damn Knives Out movies until Daniel Craig is like, look, mate, leave me the fuck alone. Stop calling me. So if you enjoy Knives Out and if you enjoy Glass Onion, probably for quite a while, you could probably expect to get more of these movies moving forward. And also, when asked about just the movie in general... I'm sorry. Not asked about. He made comments. Ryan Johnson made comments about this being a movie that needs to be seen in theaters. Now, that's the headline. It's a bit misleading. He did say he wants people to see this movie in theaters, which it will be going. It's getting a very limited release a little bit before it comes to Netflix.
That's a mistake.
Yeah, it's not going to be in a bunch of theaters. It's only going to be in very, very limited amount for a short period of time before going over to Netflix. And he had this to say. This movie is so designed to be seen with a crowd in a theater, he said. It's less like Top Gun, where it's a big experience of the screen and sound, and it's more about being surrounded by people who are going to be having as much fun as you. Now, when I read the comments leading up to this, talking about, it needs to be seen in theaters and yada, 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 I was getting Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve vibes, and I was like, some movies I do think you should see in a theater. Dune, that was one of them. Top Gun, I'm with you there. Christopher Nolan's movies, even though I didn't like that last one he made. But those are usually like visually stimulating and like he said, it's the sound and the visual and all that. That's what makes them worth it. Story-wise, I think you can watch that anywhere and still have a good... But I like his comment here where he's like, it's not about that stuff. Because it was funny that I thought that and then he said it and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, he gets it. But it is about a crowd experience. And there have been movies I've seen that my enjoyment of them was elevated due to seeing it in a crowded theater with people. The Sixth Sense is the one I always go to. Fantastic movie either way. And I would have loved it had I just seen it home. But the crowd that I saw that movie with, that was one of the best movie viewing experiences in a theater I've ever had. I saw it in, I'm not rich now, but I was much poorer. I lived in more or less the ghetto, and I went and saw this movie in the ghetto. That was the best fucking movie experience of my life. And that definitely elevated it. So I get what he's saying. Seeing a movie like this with a crowd, that could be cool. So I mean, what do you think there's any validity to his? I know you're a big proponent to theaters.
There's
going.
there's absolute, not even me wanting to go to theaters. There's absolute validity to it because, you know, like you said, think about it, like you said, with like Avatar or Titanic or Lord of the Rings or Star Wars: The Force Awakens or any of the Marvel Avengers movies. If those movies have been streaming, and this has been a problem, this happened with like Prey. If Prey had been in the theater, that movie probably would have made $100 million for one. But you sit there and think about it, and you're going, how good is it to sit in a theater when people are watching the movie, enjoying it, having a good time? I actually, when I went to see Knives Out, I went to a screening of it whenever it came out. People were like into the movie, like, you know, they weren't on their phones, they were laughing, they were clapping, they were enjoying the movie. So if Ryan Johnson says this is if the movie you should experience in the theater, then Netflix, what the fuck are you doing? Put it in the theater and then release it eventually on Netflix. You know, people don't give a shit. They don't pay attention when the shit comes out. They're like, oh, Knives Out sequel's out. I'll watch it on Netflix. Give it like an actual theatrical run, but Netflix is too fucking greedy for that kind of shit. So that's why they're bleeding
I do
money.
think that it would behoove Netflix to put it out in theaters and on streaming. I mean, I don't know how. I don't
Warner
know.
Brothers did that.
Do what?
You saw how Warner Brothers did with that. It didn't go well.
Yeah, but I mean, the Warner Brothers thing was they took movies that were going to theaters and put them on streaming on the same day. This would be a streaming movie that they say, hey, this is good enough to see in theaters too. We're going to put it in theaters as well, and whatever it makes, they're great. I mean, they put some of their movies in, like The Irishman went to theaters for a bit. This is going to theaters for a bit. They've had some other ones that have done that, but why not give it at least a wider release? Maybe not.
Yeah, it'd make $100 million. That's just what I'm saying. Like, The Irishman would never have made $100 million. I'm just saying this movie is a crowd pleaser, obviously. So,
well, I think that one of the things that they're hoping for is that they've got competition in the streaming universe now. So they need to have some stuff that, hey, if you want to see this, the only way to see it is to come over to Netflix. So they are wanting to get these properties like this and Stranger Things and like that, and the only place you can watch them is there. They want the subscriptions because that's their main bread and butter. Theater experience doesn't matter. They want people coming over to their service. So I get both sides. Yeah, I do think that they should put it in theaters for a while, a bit wider release than they're doing, but I get why they're not. I mean, it's like they're trying to compete with Disney and HBO Max and all that, and they need to get some stuff. And people have been talking shit about Netflix's output here for a while, especially their movies. So they got one that they know is going to be a hit, and I think this movie will drive people over to Netflix that don't have Netflix or kind of like dip in Netflix here or there. So I think it's going to help them. So I get it, both sides. It's a double-edged sword, I suppose. But I guess really the only Knives Out 2. Or, I'm sorry, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, is coming to Netflix on December 23rd. However, you can see it, I think it's in November, like November 23rd, right around Thanksgiving. It is going to be in theaters for a short run, limited release.
You'll make a good money.
Yeah, so if you just can't wait, go check it out there. I probably will actually do that. I'll probably, if there's one near me, I'll probably go try and check it out before it comes to Netflix.
Yeah, Cinemark's usually a good chance.
Yeah, so there it is, ladies and gentlemen. You looking forward to Glass Onion and all that good stuff and Ryan Johnson's new flick? If so, let us know in the comments below what you thought about all the stuff we said here. It sounds like it's going to be a really good movie, so I am looking forward to seeing it. Let us know in the comments. Alrighty, next story before we jump into our review. Let's talk about The Strangers. Now, this is funny because we already talked about this.
Yeah, that's why I didn't bring it up to you because I thought we talked about this already, but...
We did, but I want to talk about another aspect of it because it's being suddenly reported over the past few days, the exact same thing that we said. There's a little bit more information about it, and we're going to talk about that, but pretty much the same thing. This is even the same background I used that we reported on 2 months ago, something like that. Now, we already knew a few months back that The Strangers was getting 3 new movies. Not 1, but 3 new Stranger movies. But that's all we knew. We didn't really know anything else. Just 3 new Strangers movies. Well, we've gotten some more information on that. And there's some headlines out there that I feel as if are being a bit disingenuous. So, a lot of the headlines are saying Strangers remake is in the works. Strangers remake, Strangers remake. I keep seeing that. And it's being reported as a remake. This is not a remake. And in these articles, as you read them, because I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, they are remaking it. No, they're not. It's more or less the same story, but it got picked back up, I guess. And they even mention in the stories it's new. This is not a remake of the original film. This is new characters, new location, new everything. I mean, the three stranger characters are the same, characters, but it is not a remake of the first film. So I don't know why it keeps getting reported as a remake. That was one of the main things I wanted to put out there is, no, they're not remaking this movie. But we do have a little bit of more details about it, including a somewhat of a story synopsis. And that will be New Strangers movie. Oh, by the way, also, it's not only going to happen, it's already in production. Pre-production, post-film, I don't know. I just know they say it is already in production. So it's happening. It's going to be directed by Rennie Harlan, which he was in talks last time we talked about this. There are still going to be 3 movies. It is not yet said if Harlan will be directing all 3, but he is definitely directing the first one. He's working on it now. It's going to be starring Madeline Petsch, Petsch. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Froy Gutierrez and Gabrielle Basso. I am not familiar with any of these actors. I may have seen them at some point in time or something, but just based on their names, I don't know who they are, but they're in the movie. The new film will reportedly follow a woman and her boyfriend as they drive cross-country to the Pacific Northwest to start a new life. When their car breaks down in Oregon, they stop at an Airbnb and end up tormented by the 3 anonymous masked figures. There is, as of yet, there is not a release date for the New Strangers film. Now, I still haven't seen The Strangers since I last talked about this, but I know enough about it. I know what happens in the end. I know the basic premise. I'm actually more familiar with the real life story that it is very loosely based on. What are your thoughts on this information here, Nick? And does any of it differ from what you had to say the last time we talked about this?
No. Rennie Harlan is all you need to know about this film. That's all you need to know. It doesn't matter if, Taraji B. Henson or, anybody's won an Oscar. Let's say Bradley Cooper was in this movie or Scott Speedman came back for it or something like that. Honestly, I'm not a fan of The Strangers. I know Antonio and Fright were talking about how scary the film was, but I watched it and I'm just like, yeah, Liv Tyler's in it. She had a creepy thing with her dad in one of those music videos. I don't know. It's one of those things. I wish I had more to say on this. They can't get their shit straight. We don't need a remake for one. They should continue the franchise. They did that with Paranormal Activity for some weird reason. So
they are saying that this is maybe not it is a continuate, or it's in the same world. It may not be a continuation in the way that, because I know there was a second one and we talked about this last time. I don't know what happened to the strangers in the second one. I know obviously they survived the first one. The stranger, those 3 characters, I don't know if they survived the second one or not. No idea. I haven't seen it. I heard most people said the general consensus is the second one wasn't that great. But it is, whether it is a direct sequel, like stuff from the first and second one affect this one or not, I don't think so. I think this is just going to be another story and has these 3 characters tormenting some people. So there's that. They're making 3 of these movies, which makes me wonder, does that mean that we know that all the stranger characters are going to make it out of this one? Does that kind of deflate some of the tension? I don't know. But if you're a fan, and there are a lot of fans of The Strangers. I mean, I don't think they'd be making another one if there weren't fans. So I need to watch this movie because I still haven't seen it. And people are talking about it so much, and it comes up in conversation. I'm always just like, I don't know. But,
well, here I got a couple of things for you. One, the producer is Roy Lee, who is a pretty famous producer at this point. He actually did produce Barbarian, so it could be cool. Ooh. And the second one is directed by Johannes Roberts, who directed Raccoon City.
Oh no, yeah.
So I'm sure Rennie Harlan is going to be a much better step up than Johannes Roberts.
Now,
Which
Rennie
I like
Harlan
Raccoon
has
City.
his missteps in his career as well, and he definitely has his style. But you know what? His style works for the right movie. Like Deep Blue Sea worked great.
Yeah, it
Cutthroat
could work for
Island,
this.
not so much. But
Hey,
well,
hey,
not
hey,
Cutthroat.
hey,
Was it
I like
Cutthroat Island, the
Island.
pirate one with Gina Davis? Isn't that
Yeah, the
Cutthroat?
one that ruined pirate movies for life.
Yeah, until
Until
Jack
Pirates of the
Sparrow came out.
Caribbean. Yeah.
Well, anyway, I know it's not much information here with this story. That's a lot of the stories this week, but yeah, Rennie Harlan. I like Rennie Harlan, not because he made one of my favorites, Deep Blue Sea, but just I like Cliffhanger, stuff like that. I enjoy his movies. They are what they are. They're kind of mindless, dumb fun. So I'm going to have to sit down and watch the first one at least at some point, so that when this one comes out, I have a little bit more introspective on the whole Stranger's world. But I guess I'm not going to say that I'm like just super psyched looking forward to this. I know some people are looking forward to more Strangers, and more power to you. I'm not saying I'm not. I just don't have, I'm kind of nothing on it because I haven't seen the original, so I don't have anything to play off of. But if you are a big Strangers fan, as I already reported a while back, you're getting more Strangers action. And it will not be a remake. It will be a continuation, and Rennie Harlan is going to be adding his brand of mania to this crazy story or crazy world. Let us know in the comments below if you're looking forward to it. Okie dokie. So now, we're going to take a break. Not a break. We're going to do a review. Or we're going to have a talk. We're going to talk. We're going to talk about a movie. We're going to talk about a little movie that some of you may or may not have seen by this point, because I think it officially came out yesterday as of this recording.
Yeah.
Nick and I saw it a while back. Couldn't talk about it for a while. Talked about non-spoiler stuff, and now these spoiler restrictions have been released. And that little movie is Clerks 3. A movie that I think both of us were looking forward to. Nick, I think you were looking forward to it even more than me. Because while we're both Kevin Smith fans, I've fallen off the Kevin Smith bandwagon for a little bit now. His films in the more recent past, I haven't really been into. I like Tusk. You didn't, but no. Jay and Silent Bob reboot, things like that. I just no, it didn't do it for me. Yoga Hosers, yada yada yada. Clerks 3 came out. We both did reviews, and both of our sentiments were round about the same. I'm just going to speak for myself. I did not like the movie. It didn't do it for me. And we're going to talk about that more at length. But today we can talk more about some of the more specific things that we didn't like. And yes, this movie, unlike the other two Clerks movies, which I think anything has a spoiler, I guess, but things that are considered spoiler content, this movie actually does have quite a few things that are spoilery, especially one big thing. And we're going to talk about that stuff. So if you haven't seen Clerks 3, and you don't want anything spoiled for you, because we are going to talk about some things that are going to... You could still watch the movie, I guess, but we're going to... The big secrets. Especially the very end of the movie, too. And there are some. So if you haven't, as much as I want you to stay, tune out for probably about 5-10 minutes, come back and see if we're done. I don't plan on going over this for too long.
Yeah.
If you have, then stay along and see if you agree. And if you haven't and don't give a shit, stay on. But we're going to talk about this shit, so you have been warned. So, Nick, what's your... how did you... Give us a brief rundown of your thoughts of just, before we jump all the way into the spoilers, of Clerks, so everybody knows where you're at. I kind of gave my... I thought it was unfunny, like woefully unfunny, did some terrible shit with characters, and almost like a totally different kind of movie. And we're going to talk about that, because some people say, well, Clerks 2 was different than Clerks... You're right. But I felt like this was a different kind of movie that just didn't fit within this universe. I'm okay with different. But give us your brief synopsis of your thoughts of Clerks 3.
Let me say this first of all. Clerks and Clerks 2, I think, are some of the funniest comedies of all time, especially Clerks. So it took me a while to get into Clerks, but I have to say this because you have to understand my opinion going in. Clerks is an absolutely like revolutionary film for me, just on the fact of what it was doing and how low budget it was, and I like Clerks 2. So I actually put Clerks 3 in my, it was my one of my most anticipated films of the year, because after Kevin Smith had a heart attack, I'm like, cool, he'll add some of the stuff in here. He'll give some like real depth to Randall because he was talking about Randall having a heart attack, and so they allowed me to see this early, which I was really appreciative because I didn't think that was going to happen. And maybe the fact that I saw this by myself, maybe that kind of made me feel the way I felt. But or if I had gone to the theater, maybe it'd be different. But I'm a little baffled by why people like this movie, and that's just me. I don't think it's funny. Or I should rephrase that. I think some of the stuff is funny in aspects, but I feel it does some things that kind of are dishonest to the characters themselves. And I know this is a movie about in your 50s, about kind of looking at your life in a nutshell and wanting to like reconfigure your life and maybe kind of look back upon like the mistakes you made. But before we get into spoilers, I just felt like it was a disservice to Randall and Dante, who aren't. I'm not saying Brian O'Halloran or Jeff Anderson are like great actors, but I really felt like Kevin Smith was more wanting to tell his story through these characters, which parts of the Clerks movies are. And I just didn't feel like this movie did that. I don't know. I felt so kind of deflated after watching this movie, and that I was a little more harsh in my review. And if people get mad because I say I saw it 3 times, I saw the movie 3 times to kind of maybe justify my reason, because I don't know if this has happened to you, but you go in, you watch a movie and you hate it, and then you go back and rewatch it, and it may change your mind because you realize that maybe you weren't in the right mindset when you watched it. But it's happened to me. It happened to me with Clerks. Clerks took me 6 times to watch it. Yeah.
There have been movies that I was like, that was like Knives Out we were talking about a few minutes ago. There's been movies I've watched that I was like, that wasn't, it was fine. And then I watch it later and I like it more and more every time. I don't know if there's ever been a movie that I hated. Maybe, I take that back. There's the movies I watched when I was a kid that I didn't appreciate, that when I became an adult.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like as an adult, I don't know if there's been movies that I hated that I turned around and watched and I was like, hey, that was pretty good. But there's definitely been movies that I thought were okay and then thought were much better later.
Yeah, no, I mean, Clerks 3 was just one of those films that I just had to make sure that I was seeing in the right mindset. So I watched it like the first time, watched it with you, and then I watched it again just to be safe. And it never changed my mind. I felt what characters do in this movie, while interesting, it felt like they were going through the same motions as the second film in some parts, and then they just went. And Kevin Smith just went too far in some parts. But like I said, you and I are apparently one of like 2 people in the entire world that didn't like this movie. So I don't know.
Well, I did not watch it 3 times. I only needed to watch it once. And that is all I had in me. I did not want to watch this thing anymore. I did not like this movie. Like a lot. I wanted to like it. I actually was thinking, because Nick had already told me, he had already seen it, and he had told me I didn't like it. And I was surprised because I thought he was going to like it because he's thought more favorably of Kevin Smith's more recent work than I have. So I was like, you know what, it's going to be weird because since he has liked Kevin Smith's more recent stuff and I haven't, and both of us like his old stuff or older stuff, it's going to be weird that we're going to go into this and he hates it and I'm going to like it. No, I didn't like it. It was very rare that I laughed at all. But you know what? I have a review. Nick has a review on our 2 respective channels. If you want to know that stuff, go check it out. Just know that we didn't like it. So what didn't we like about it that I couldn't talk about in the review? And I know Nick is very passionate about some of this stuff, so I'm going to let you talk about some of it, but I'm going to throw some things out there. And no, this will not be a beat-by-beat playthrough. We're mainly going to talk about one aspect that we learn about in the beginning of the film, or around the beginning and the end of the film. That's what I mainly want to talk, or we're going to talk about. Yeah. Rosario Dawson's character, what was her name?
Becky.
Becky, from the second movie. Now, her and not Randall, Dante.
Dante, yeah.
They get married, and did they? I think they weren't married. They didn't get married in the second movie.
No. She's having his kid, but I think I think they were going to get married. Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry.
She's pregnant with his kid. Yeah.
Well, they were on their way to get married, and we learned that in the second film, she's pregnant with his kid. Well, in between movies, she dies. I think it's a car accident, if I remember correctly.
Yep. Yeah, it's a car accident.
She and the baby, which is not born yet, right? No, she hadn't had the baby yet. There's a tragic car accident, and they both die. Well, she dies, and the baby inside of her, of course, dies. So this has screwed Dante up for all these years, and it happened right after the second film, because she was still pregnant.
Yeah.
I just felt like that's where we're starting the movie. I mean, it's not where it starts, granted, but that is early on in the film, and that becomes a through line for the film. And there's a reason for that. We find out in the end. But I was just like, that's not... And I understand some people say, well, that's just real, and Clerks is, life's not always happy. Yeah, but that's not what Clerks is. That's not what I want out of my Clerks movie. That is not... I'm just not... No. You can have drama. I don't mind the drama being in the movie, because there's a lot more drama in this movie than the other ones, for sure. But that just sets a tone, man, throughout the film. And if it wasn't for the fact that Rosario Dawson shows up throughout the movie as like a vision to him, he like talks to her, but she's not really there. Throughout the film, I would have said it's because she wouldn't come back. Because that's what it seems like. It seems like a move they made because they tried to get this character or this actor to come back, and she was just like, no, I'm not coming back I'm not doing that. I don't want to come back for the movie. But she shows up in the movie, so obviously she was okay with coming back. So I don't know why he decided to do this. I feel as if there would have been other ways that they could have conveyed a similar thing and feel throughout the film. Because it's supposed to be that Dante is just really down and depressed, and he lost, the love of his life and his family. He lost his happiness. And then the movie becomes about Randall. Randall has a heart attack, and the movie becomes about him getting his happiness by making this movie about his past and all this and that, and using Dante throughout the whole thing to achieve that happiness. And I just feel like there was something else you could have thrown in there to make it, to get that point across, instead of killing this character you set up as a main character in the second movie. But that is the less egregious of the main things that happen in this movie. What was that the thing? Were you bothered by this? Was that a thing that really bothered you? Where's your stance on that?
When it first happens, when I first started watching it, I'm sitting here going, either Rosario Dawson was really busy because she is a pretty big actress now with like Ahsoka and stuff like that she's doing for Star Wars. Maybe she didn't have time, or maybe Kevin Smith felt like this was the right move for Dante, and a lot of people do think it's fine. The more I think about it, honestly, Jacob, the fact that she died is not the problem. Is that I don't think Brian O'Halloran sells it very well, to be fairly honest.
Oh, he definitely doesn't. He's terrible in this movie.
Yeah, it's like it almost feels like he forgot how to act. And I'm not saying he's ever really acted in a lot of stuff, but it doesn't feel real. Like if you watch Clerks 2 and you watch him and Becky, there is actually chemistry there, or with Rosario Dawson. There's chemistry there. There's like a feel that they feel like they've been, they have passion there. You see it like through every inch and fiber of that movie. And here, there's moments and sparks of that, but it just feels like it feels like there's just something really off about it. It feels like Kevin Smith was trying to find some way to refocus Dante's character into something more, whatever the word's called, like more. He was trying to give Dante something to do in this movie, more tragic, to kind of outweigh the Jeff Anderson Randall stuff. And I never felt that. I never felt like when he's talking to Becky at the gravesite, I'm sitting here going, this feels so off and stuff like that. Becky, Rosario Dawson actually feels like a real character, and Dante just feels like something out of a comic book a little bit. Something out of, it's so weird. It's so off-putting that it completely ruins the whole relationship that they had. And the fact that they killed her off anyways, I guess it's not so bad, but it just, that character was so integral to Dante, and now it's just killing. Then you're going to bring in Kevin Smith's wife later on just to kind of, pay off that story. It just, that's the first, that's not even the worst, offender in this movie, but it's
no.
weird.
And I'm with you. I don't think the fact that she died is the worst thing. I do feel as if Dante has always been the morose character. He's always been the depressed character and the down character. And with Randall's been his opposite, and together they, form almost like a one. I feel like this was just a way. I was like, how can I make this character still be this morose, down motherfucker,
Yeah.
and make it believable that he's still that way all these years later? Which, I mean, you could have just made him that way, because that's what his character is. I mean, I guess I appreciate the fact that he's like, okay, I need to make a believable reason as to why this guy would still be kind of just this morose down motherfucker, especially if he had a kid and a wife and all that. How do I work that out? I'm not as offended, not offended, I feel real self-righteous saying that, but I'm not as bothered by the fact that they killed her off. But I am with you. I think that it's everything else in the movie. It's like, that's just one thing. That's the beginning. Had that happened and the rest of the movie was fantastic, I probably would have been okay with it. And I understand where he was trying to go with it, and we'll get to that. But I do, on his performance, it's Clerks movie. Nobody's performance is fantastic. Ain't nobody going to the Oscars this year from this movie. Not for this movie. And I'm fine with that. I was never asking for that. But O'Halloran is terrible with a capital T in this movie. He is not good, even by comparison to the other two Clerks movies. Nothing against the guy, but Jesus, he's bad. The only scene he has where he actually does good is that not his last scene, but the scene right before the end part that we're going to talk about in a minute, when he goes off on Randall in front of everybody in the convenience store. That's the one time that you feel like he's in it. He's in it right here. That's
the problem. That's the problem with the whole idea of Dante's character. Kevin Smith did this shit in Clerks 2 in the jail cell. It's the exact same scene, except what we'll talk about. It's the exact same scene. It has all the same fucking characters.
He does it in the first one,
as Jay and Silent Bob are sitting there listening to it. I think when Kevin Smith moves the camera down and stuff like that, I think that's kind of funny. I actually thought that was pretty funny. But no, it's the same shit. It's just, I know friends get into fights. I've gotten with my friends quite a few fights. It is, but it just doesn't. It feels like the same fucking scene. It feels like Kevin Smith's like, how do I get them to this point by having them go, oh, for the last 50 fucking years you've been doing this, blah blah blah. It's so frustrating. It really feels like poor storytelling, but like I said, it's Kevin Smith, so he knows what he's doing. But it's just, I don't know.
Well, okay, so there's not really a lot in the middle portion of the movie.
Outside of Elias's 6,000 costume changes, and I do like Buddy Christ. I do like it as a kite. I think that's kind of funny, actually.
There were little moments, and I'm gonna give the movie a little bit right here. There were things that happened in this movie. There were sight gags that happened that I thought were there was like a handful of times, and I mentioned this in my review, that I would kind of go, is a sight gag, something pops up on screen and you're like, okay. But that's about as much as it got out of me. But there were moments and there were things and some introspective comedy and stuff that the series is known for that came up, and I remember hearing it and I was thinking, this could be funny. Yeah. And I think maybe it may have been funny. Maybe if I saw a clip of it, I would say, oh, that was kind of funny. But I think it's everything else surrounding it is so unfunny and so just dull, and I just am not invested in it, that it made the stuff that could have been funny or that was funny less funny, because you're just in a place. It puts you in a place where you're just like, I'm just not feeling any of this. I'm not feeling it. I'm out of it. So then when something positive, because it's not a lot, does happen to like just rear its head for a second, you have a real hard time of finding the humor in it. I mean, and I think that's any comedy. If you got a comedy that's just like funny, and then you have a joke that's not as funny, people probably still laugh at it because they're in that really funny, like, haha mood. In this movie, you're just not. And it's not because it's all down and dour parts of it are. It's just because it's not funny, because it's cracking jokes left and right, but they're just not landing, in my opinion. They, like I said, there's some sight gags. There's a thing with Elias and his little vote for Pedro guy that's with him. Which is
Kevin Smith's daughter's boyfriend, by the way. I found out today.
Oh, I didn't know that, but
in real life, yeah.
Every time he shows up on screen, he's in a different costume, like a wildly different, crazy look, and that kind of joke is funny. It just isn't funny here, and that's why I think maybe it was because everything else surrounding it, you're just out of it. Those types of jokes are like side jokes that work right after something really funny. If you're surrounded by a whole lot of funny and you have these side jokes. They're the great side jokes that you go in and like add in to the already really funny script. It's like, all right, I've got this really great script, these great bits, but I need to fill in a few spots. Let's put this here, this there, this there, because it's funny enough. And it will carry you from this really funny thing, still funny, over to this other really funny thing. Problem is those really funny things aren't there, so then you get to this side funny stuff that would just be kind of like, you know, it'll carry the wave, but it can't make the wave itself. So when you get there and that's all you got, you're just kind of like, yeah. Like internal smirk at best.
Well, especially when it gets into like the meta stuff where Randall is like, I'm going to make a movie about my life. And there was a funny joke. It's like, they're talking about you should put Jay and Silent Bob. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I think Randall says something like that. There's a clip out for it. But like when they start going into like the real meta stuff, like meta, this is the most meta movie I've ever seen. I was like, all right, so we're gonna show every scene that he filmed. It's just like it almost felt like Kevin Smith just wanted to remake the original Clerks and just put it as like, hey, we're 50 years old making the original Clerks. It was
like when he talks about sequels and how what am I, a hack, and like and like it showed the scene where they were going to shoot Dante in the end, which is an actual deleted ending to the original movie, and he had commentary on that. These things would have been funny had they been surrounded by bigger funny moments, your tentpole funny moments. I think those moments could have carried that funny wave onto the next thing. But on their own, they're just, So then you end up not really laughing throughout the movie. I mean, there were a couple of times I smiled. There were a couple of, like I said, sight gags, something just jump on screen, and I'm like, but that's about it, like the Buddy Christ kite and stuff like that. That's it. That's the best it got from me. And I hate to say, because I still find Clerks 2 and Clerks, the first Clerks, really funny. And like I mentioned a moment ago, and we're going to get into the end part here next, but unless you got something else. The Clerks 2 is very different from Clerks 1. It is a different movie in feel, in tone, in comedy. It's just different. It is a Kevin Smith movie, but that's a different Kevin Smith making Clerks 2 than Clerks 1. But Clerks 2 still works. Clerks 2 is still funny. Clerks 2 respects the characters, and it still works within that universe, even though it is very different. So I was okay with Clerks 3 being different, having a different tone, having a different feel, all that, if it still worked and if it was still funny. Problem is, it was not funny, and it did not work. And that was one of the things that didn't work. For me, anybody out there who wants to start typing away and saying this, that, it did not work for me, and that's fine. If it worked for you, I am very happy for you because I want everybody to see great movies. But for me, it didn't fucking work. It just wasn't funny. And I'm a pretty funny guy. I think I know humor when I hear it. And I didn't hear a lot of it here. But before we jump into this end, the big thing of the movie, because I don't want to go on too long. You got anything else to say about this movie? Any other spoilery stuff you want to jump into? There's not really a lot besides those two things that I remember. But you've seen it 3 times. You probably got a better idea.
Yeah. What's her face? His ex-girlfriend pops up. She comes in. I did laugh because Randall writes a part for her as his girlfriend and stuff like that. And he runs out to the car after she made some thing about Dante and Becky, and she's crying. And Dante's trying to calm her down. And she's like, "Hey, you want to fuck?" And also, these are the car shaking. I did laugh at that. I think it's funny.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing the movie does. Is it goes back. There's nostalgia for old stuff. Like they do the 37 dicks and all that from the first movie, which was hilarious in the first movie. And I would be okay with them referencing it. But it's like they go back to the first movie's comedy repeatedly. And it's like, that's fine if you want to revisit that stuff. And like, oh, you know, I saw this movie in 1994 when it first came out. I saw it in a theater with just me and my dad and my sister. Nobody else was there. So I have nostalgia for it. So I'm primed for nostalgia bait. But it can't just be just that. That's all there was. It was just talking about the previous movie, mainly the first movie. And it's like, do something new. Well, no, not that new. Because what they do next is like, Jesus Christ. That was just my thoughts on it. Okay, so the big thing, though, the big spoiler of the movie, besides the fact that Becky is dead and his kid's dead and Dante is once again a morose motherfucker, would be that the end of the movie. So just to put it out there, in the end of the movie, we get to close to the end, a brief synopsis of it. Randall, as we alluded to a moment ago, Randall and Dante get in a fight on the movie set in the Quick Stop. And
Yeah.
Randall's going off on, Dante's going off on Randall about how I'm always there for you. This is all about you. You never think about anybody else. You're working on your happiness now. You found your happiness. I lost my happiness. I can never find it. It was taken from me in a car accident. All that stuff. And actually, this scene was good. The scene, Brian O'Halloran, which is Dante, in this scene, was actually acting. This was the one moment I was like, oh, okay, there it is. He's acting now. It was legit. There was some emotion there. I was with him. But I knew what was going to happen. I knew it as it was working up to it. I was like, this is about to happen. And then as it went on, I was like...
Well, it's foreshadowed in the beginning with the
Yeah.
doctor. She's like, yeah.
And I actually said that at one point. I was like, they're going to do this. And not... He has a heart attack. He gets too worked up, and he has a heart attack in the quick stop. Falls over. Goes to the hospital. And I knew it as we were leading up to it. I was like, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do, and he did. So in his head, Randall is, this happens, Dante is yelling at Randall. And then he falls out and has a heart attack. Does not have another spoken alert line in the movie. As far as the other characters are concerned, and this gets into one of my biggest issues with it. He falls out and is, got the tube and all that. He has a heart attack. He's in really bad shape. He's in the hospital. Now, we start seeing scenes play out inside Dante's head with him and Becky. This is like not happening in the real world. This is in his head. He's talking to her. Randall feels real bad about it. He goes and quick edits the movie, like quicker than I could even edit a 5-minute video, and brings the completed movie that they're making to the hospital to show Dante. Dante's sitting there. His eyes are open, but he can't speak. So they have not spoken. Last time they spoke, they were yelling at each other about how much they hate each other. And he puts it down and he tells him, he's all heartfelt. He's like, this movie wasn't about me. It was about you and me. You're my other half. You're my Han Solo. Yada, yada, all that stuff. Pours his heart out to the guy. And it sets the movie on him and it plays. Now, I'm assuming the end of the movie, I don't know, while he's watching this movie, in his head, he's in a movie theater with Becky, and he's like, oh, this is great, and I know he didn't mean all that, and all this stuff, He makes amends in his head and says something to Becky about it, and she says, it's time now, are you ready? And he's like, yeah. And they get off, and they get up and walk out of the theater, and he dies. So Dante dies in the end of the fucking movie. Okay, bold move. I'll give him that. I don't like that. I didn't like that you killed off one of the main characters. But at the same time, the thing that really bothered me about it was not so much that he died. I understand what Kevin Smith was going for with this. The thing that killed it for me is that he died, and the movie makes it seem like, oh, look, he died, and they were able to reconcile. Randall made the movie. Dante sees it. Yeah. He doesn't. As far as Randall's concerned, Dante still fucking hates him, and Randall fucking killed him because Randall is the reason he got so worked up and mad, and they ended on bad terms. He falls the fuck over, has a heart attack, and dies, even though in Dante's head, I'm cool with it. I understand. This is a beautiful thing. Let me go off with my wife into the afterlife or whatever and get my happiness that I was talking about. Randall does not know that. Nobody else in the world knows that. Just Dante, who just died, by the way. So Randall's sitting there for the rest of his fucking life thinking, I killed my best friend. I gave no shits about him. He hated me when he left. That's like, this guy's fucked for the rest of his life. Because he thinks he has just like he killed his best friend.
That's the even worse part is at the very end, they do like they did in Clerks 2 where they do the pan back and Kevin Smith threw his fucking daughter in as the one looking at the milk and shit, stuff like that. I don't know, whatever. The thing that bothers me the most is they bring back Dante. I think that's the worst offender. They bring back Dante to give Randall an almost like closure to what he did, which was terrible. That Dante's always by his side and that he forgives him, like in a, like it's kind of like the same type of character that Becky is in this movie. And I felt like this was the problem, and someone told me this, that it moves too quickly. And this is the same problem he had with Zach and Mary Make a Porno, where it had like a really interesting leading up to it, even though that Clerks 3 wasn't good. But then it just feels like it just moves at light speed. As soon as it gets to the point where they're
Yes.
doing the salsa shark and stuff like that, when Dante has a heart attack, it almost feels like Kevin Smith's like, we have to move this a million miles a minute. We're running out of money, blah, 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 blah. And it just, and then you see Dante at the end, like, oh, here's Dante forgiving Randall and he even says, oh, he was my best friend. I'm like, that feels so dishonest about what you literally just did, where, Dante literally he literally died because of your selfishness. And that's like the worst offender. Like, it doesn't even bother me that Dante died. Fuck it. Who cares? Dante died, whatever. But like you said, it's so, it feels, like I said, so selfish. It feels like it feels like it's not, what's that word called? That it's not earned, I guess you could say. And it's weird. Like, if it had just been Randall at the counter pushing back, him just thinking, I think I could have been fine with that. But it's not.
I would have been fine with
has
that.
Dante. It has Dante
movie.
sitting there. Yeah, but it has Dante sitting there, and it just doesn't make it.
Yeah,
That's what's so wrong about
like
this
Force
movie.
Ghost Dante.
Yeah. Like, here's Dante. He forgives you. He's going to be your Yoda or some shit. Like, no.
Yeah, and he's not a ghost, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. He's just that's for the viewer to see, or Randall sees. No, he does not get as far as Randall and everybody else in the world is concerned. He put him there. He killed him, and there is no, they did not make up. His friend died because of his actions, and he died hating him. That's as far as he's concerned. And then he goes and shows him the movie in this gesture, which, think about it, the gesture is, oh, this thing you hate, because Dante more or less says, I fucking hate this movie. I don't want anything to do with this. I've been doing it for you, and you're a selfish son of a bitch. He goes home, works on the movie, and brings it to him to show him that, and it fucking kills him. Like, he watches the movie and dies. So, I mean, like, as far as Randall's concerned, holy shit, I've made my friend have a heart attack and he hated me, and then I killed him by showing him this movie. And then it's very disingenuous at the funeral where he's all like, oh, it was this and that and blah, blah, blah. That's great. But, and to clear that up, this story, the basic storyline, I would have been okay with, I mean, it still would have been depressing as fuck, with better performances and in a different movie. But when you put it in the Clerks movie with these characters, that's what I mean by it doesn't fit. Like, these movies are, and you can have a comedy with drama. You can have a comedy with, like, with sadness in it and death and all that. I'm okay with it. But Jesus Christ, this movie is depressing. And it does not fit within the Clerks universe, in my opinion. Or it doesn't fit within the Clerks universe I want to be a part of. And some people say, well, it's a brave movie and it's this and that and it's beautiful. It's not, though. It doesn't fit. It just doesn't do it for. I can't believe they. I mean, I guess I can now. I can't believe they fucking killed him, and in that way.
Well,
and I don't
I
see
think
anybody talking about how Randall is permanently fucked for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Well, here's what I think why Kevin Smith did that. There's a couple of reasons why I think he did it. One, I think he wanted to give Dante some kind of happy ending, even though it's like the worst ending anybody could have in their entire life, by allowing him to go back to Becky, which is what he's always wanted. But I also think he wanted to do the Clerks ending, have Dante killed. And maybe that's something that he decided, you know what, now that I have clout, I can do my original ending where Dante is killed in the convenience store, which is a really interesting, like, if you go back and watch that ending and you think about it, the whole idea is very fucked up about Randall or Dante had to go into the store on his day off. All this shit happens because of Randall. All this nonsense happens on his day off that he's supposed to work. And then the worst part about it is he's dead at the end of the movie. I think
it's darkly comedic, but
yeah,
if you watch that movie with that ending, holy fuck, it is. Yeah. It leaves you on a sour ass note, and it is darkly comedic. But see, that's the thing. That movie's not dark. It's not darkly comedic until that part. It's not a darkly comedic movie, and then the second movie built off of that. And it wasn't darkly comedic either. It was just funny. It's a funny movie. It had heart and all that, and that's great. But this one is it's just dark. It's not darkly comedic because there ain't shit funny about it. It's for how much he fucked these characters. And I know some people like it, and I'm happy for you. And I'm okay with changes. I'm okay with changes in tone. I'm okay with all that stuff. I just can't. I couldn't get behind. I cannot get my mind off of the fact that you gave one character happiness by him passing away and being with her, but this other character is just fucked. And some people say, "Oh, that's real life. That's how it is." Yeah, but this isn't real life. It's a fucking movie. This isn't closure. This is all I can think is he's going to commit suicide. And to add salt to the wound, well, not really salt to the wound, but to add a little bit, there is a pseudo stinger to the movie.
Yeah.
If you watch it, if you get to it's not at the very end of the credits. It's the last maybe like 2 minutes of the credits. The music fades out and you hear, I think it's an expert from Kevin Smith's podcast where he's talking about, he may just be reading, maybe it's not from his podcast, but he's talking about how the original ending to this movie was, where instead of it was going to be the same visual ending of them panning away from down the back aisle of the store, away from the counter where they were standing. It was going to have a narration talking about, and he reads the narration about how the movie, I can't remember what they called it, was a big success, and Randall went on to make many, many, many more movies, and something like when he was 90 years old, accepting some award for something, blah, blah. So he went on to be a successful filmmaker. Pretty much Kevin Smith. He became Kevin Smith within that universe. And he knew, he did the right thing. I don't know, something like that. And I was just like, what? That doesn't, because we were debating whether that made it better or not. And I was like, I don't think so. I don't think that makes it better. But that's just my thought. I mean, I don't know. I didn't like it. I did not like it. I can't get behind it. And if you liked it, great. Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I know that's kind of like, simpleton. I didn't like it. No, I just didn't. That is what it is. I took these characters that I've known for decades at this point and just fucked them. And Brian O'Halloran, Jesus, bad in this movie. Really bad. Until that one scene. That one scene, he was legit. I ain't gonna lie. That scene where he had a heart attack, he's really good there. I was like, damn. Look, he's dead. I was like, he finally gives a really good performance in the movie and fucking died. It killed him. The performance killed him. So, that's my thoughts. You got anything else you want to add to this?
Nah, I sure don't. I just wish it would have been better.
Yeah, I was
That's
very
all.
disappointed. Very disappointed for me, my opinion. I mean, if you liked it, great. Well, that's our spoiler discussion about Clerks 3. I really am interested to know, respectfully, in the comments, did you like it? Have you seen Clerks 3 and did you like it? And what did you like? What do you think about our comments? Because I do think that is one thing. Obviously, Dante dying, that's the thing people are talking about and thinking about when seeing this movie. But the implications on the other characters, like I said, the movie leads you, it makes you, it's like it has this, it wants you to think, oh, they reconciled, but they didn't. They just didn't. That really stuck with me. But either way, what did you think of the movie? Let us know in the comments below. I really, really would be interested to know, constructively what you thought and if you think there's any validity to the things we said here. Okay. So, let's move on to our last couple of stories before we get out of here today. And this next one, this is a little bit lighter hearted than the last thing we were talking about. Let's talk about Elvis. Uh-huh. You like Elvis, Nick?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You better like the king.
Yeah.
So Elvis, the movie, Baz Luhrmann, came out earlier this year. Did you like the Elvis movie, Nick? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was a little too Baz Luhrmann for me, but it was good. I enjoyed it.
Well, I enjoyed the movie. I didn't love it. I'm not a big, huge Elvis fan, but I'm fine. I'm neither here nor there when it comes to Elvis. But I enjoyed it. I will say I enjoyed this movie more than any of Baz Luhrmann's other movies that I've seen. I'm not a big fan of his. I felt like his style fit with Elvis. But we're not talking about that Elvis, Nick. We're talking about Elvis. The sequel or continuation. Not really a sequel. Have you heard of this? Have you heard about this?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, you're in for a treat. So, Elvis, Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, is not the only Elvis that we're getting. Apparently, Sofia Coppola's next film is Priscilla, based on the memoir Elvis and Me by Priscilla Presley and produced by A24. So we are getting another Elvis movie that will be about, well, that will be called Priscilla. So kind of a companion piece, if you will. I wonder if they thought of that. And it's coming from A24. So you think it's probably going to be a little bit of a different, and coming from Sofia Coppola, probably going to be a different vibe in this movie. Just saying. Apparently, Callie Spaney, probably butchered that, and Jacob Elordi are cast to play Priscilla and Elvis Presley, respectively, in a story focused on their relationship through the years when the music icon was at the height of his career. No release date has been given as of yet. It is in pre-production right now. I don't know. I mean, this just seems like, a Volcano, Dante's Peak, or a Armageddon Deep Impact situation where we're getting two movies in roughly a similar period of time that are about pretty much the same thing, but from two different perspectives and two different filmmakers and actors and all that. I don't know how I feel about this. Is this something that they should be releasing right now?
I don't know. I don't understand Hollywood. They sometimes will have, Elvis, which was a big hit, and they're like, hey, you know what? We should make another film named Elvis, with Priscilla Presley and stuff like that. It's just like
I do wonder, did this come about after Elvis was out? And it got because it hasn't been that long since Elvis came out and got, its success, because it has been a successful biopic about Elvis. I mean, they probably knew it was coming, but movie deals take a long time. I wonder, was this already not in the can, but was it already did they already know they were going to be making this prior to Elvis being successful, or was that what kickstarted it, I wonder? I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah.
But it is going to be from, I don't know if it's from Priscilla's perspective. I mean, it's a memoir based on her memoir, so I assume it will be from her perspective, but it's going to be about both of them. I do find it odd that they called it Priscilla. I think that is based on the Elvis movie. Instead of calling it Priscilla or Elvis and Me, they just said, well, they called theirs Elvis, we will call ours Priscilla. They can, double bill them. Elvis, Priscilla, double billing. I don't know. I don't know what, it's going to be an A24 movie, so it's probably going to be a very different vibe.
Oh, it's A24?
Yeah, and Sofia Coppola, so I'm sure this is going to be a much more serious, less flashy movie than the other one. And not that the other one's serious.
I think Sofia Coppola is a pretty decent director, writer. I think she's had some misfires recently, but I think, Lost in Translation was probably one of my favorite films in the last 20 years.
Really?
Oh, you do not like Lost in Translation?
That might be one of those movies I need to go back and watch, because it had a lot of hype when I saw it too, and I couldn't get behind it. But maybe I'd like it.
Oh man, that's so
I
sad.
like the Virgin Suicides.
Yeah, see, I wasn't a huge fan of that.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
Well,
no, when it comes to Sofia Coppola, it really is hard to tell if she'd make a good movie or not at this point. Like I said, I love Lost in Translation, but you remember that shit, The Bling Ring, that kind of stuff. It just, yeah.
Well, she was in The Godfather 3.
Yeah, let's not talk about that ever again. He really hasn't done a lot of films. She's done The Beguiled, which was not good. She did Marie Antoinette, which was pretty okay. Somewhere, I think. I don't know about the Chateau Mara. No, I don't know. She did On the Rocks, which I saw a couple years ago, which I thought was just all right.
Well,
so,
I'll be interested. Like I said when I saw the first Elvis, my wife is really big into Elvis. She's a huge Elvis fan, so I'm sure I'll see this movie. I think it's going to be, just based on who's making it and what the production company, it's going to be a very different kind of take on Elvis. I'll be interested to see it. I'm not super hyped about it. It's probably at least a year away, but I just found it odd that it's coming out, either odd or very convenient, that it's coming out right after Elvis, and Elvis was so successful. I do wonder how the two will stack up to each other. Obviously going to be compared, and Elvis was much more based on Elvis and not Priscilla. This is going to be, at least from her perspective, it'll probably be based on him as well. So yeah, I'm going to reserve judgment. We're getting more Elvis. We're getting another Elvis movie. It's not a sequel, but it's more if you like Elvis, this is the year or two for you because you're getting some more of it, but less flashy, I'm sure. No, I mean, who knows? She did that Maria Antoinette movie was pretty flashy like that too, if I remember. It was very
it was
Baz Luhrmann-esque. So maybe it will be that way. Now, if she does that, if it comes out and it's in that same vein as the Elvis movie was that Luhrmann made, I'm going to be like, all right, you motherfuckers are just copying. Come on, A24, you're better than this. That's another thing that makes me happy, or faithful, or hopeful, rather, is the A24 is making it. And they usually make some pretty interesting movies. What were you saying?
She should bring back, bring her cousin, Nicolas Cage, or whatever, however he is in that family, and have him play Elvis again. Did he play Elvis in like a comedy or some shit?
I think he was Elvis in something. I think you're right.
Yeah, just have Nicolas Cage work with Sofia Coppola since they're relatives.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. Now, if they announced Nicolas Cage as Elvis, I'd be like, okay, I'm down. I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm ready.
Have the Daniels produce it. Yeah, we're all good.
We want the Daniels A24 goodness. But
That's right.
Tomb Raider, we needed to do it after Tomb Raider.
That's true.
Just saying. All right, so let us know are you looking forward to Priscilla, the Elvis and Me story? Let us know in the comments below. Okay, so our next story of the day, before we get into our last story of the day, this is I didn't see this. You may have seen some of it. I did. This was mostly reading, but I don't feel like there was a ton to see. Let's talk about some video games. Sony and Nintendo, as of yesterday, as of this recording, had two big shows. They're out there showing their wares for the coming months. And Nintendo was in the beginning of the day. And this wasn't for like E3 or anything. They just both decided. Yeah. Nintendo said, we're doing a Nintendo Direct, which is what they call their little showcases. And Sony said, we're doing a Sony State of Play at the end of the day. And one was at like, I think 8 in the morning or something like that. And one was at like 5 at night. Whatever. But I'm just going to this is not every single thing they talked about. They were both fairly shorter shows. I think Sony's was like 20 or 30 minutes. Though. Huh?
They said they delivered at least.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that these shows were both well received. I didn't hear that anybody was just absolutely blown away. This is the greatest show ever. But they weren't bad. They were all solid shows. Now on the Nintendo side of things, it looks like we got a name for the follow-up to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It will be called Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Fire Emblem Engage is revealed for the Nintendo Switch, and it is coming in January. Octopath Traveler 2 is coming. More N64 games are coming to the online Nintendo Switch online thing. GoldenEye. We're getting there. You're getting Mario Party, Mario Party 2, Mario Party 3, Pilot Wing 64, Pokemon Stadium 2, 1080 Snowboarding, and Excitebike 64 on that. Pikmin 4 is releasing next year. Bayonetta 3, they're finally talking about that, is scheduled to release on October 28th this year, so just a little over a month from now. They've been waiting on that game for a long time. Resident Evil Village is coming to the Switch. And also Resident Evil 7, 2, and 3, which I am assuming the remakes of 2 and 3 are coming, though they are coming via streaming. I don't know if Resident Evil Village is via streaming, but if 7, 2, and 3 are, it's probably that one too. So you'll be able to play them on the Switch, but they're going to be stream versions, which wildly depends on your Wi-Fi access, how those are going to be. And I know that the Switch's online functionality is not as robust as some of the others. So I have no idea how streaming on the Switch is. People have been very divisive on that. Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion is coming to the Switch on December 13th also. Now, that was the Nintendo show. Did you see any of this?
I didn't. I got like secondhand feedback from the friends who were watching it, but everything I heard sounds like Nintendo's on their A game.
Yeah.
The fact they announced the Pikmin 4, I might have to buy a Switch again. My third time, Damn. I love to eat some Pikmin.
You only have to buy it once, you just keep it.
Yeah, but trading it seems so much easier. No, I'm kidding.
Nick
The
got like a
the
lease
only-
agreement on his Switch.
The only thing I asked for on Tears of the Kingdom, outside of just changing the name of the title, is please get rid of the breakable shit, like the swords and shields. Just allow us to have our own weapon that we like to carry along with us, and like if you want to upgrade it, upgrade it. But I hope they listen, and they don't have enough. They don't have any more of that shit breakable stuff.
You know,
I don't want to make food anymore either.
I just now, I've never been like the hugest Legend of Zelda fan. I got a couple of the NES games. I think I got a Super Nintendo or N64 one. I played the only one I've ever played all the way through from beginning to end is Wind Waker. Oddly enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which was actually I did enjoy the game. I just started about a month ago playing Breath of the Wild for the first time. I have not had a Switch. Two of my daughters had Switches, or three of my daughters have had Switches. So there's been three of them in my house, and I think two of them had Breath of the Wild. Heard about it, just never got around to it. I got it on my Steam Deck recently, and I've started playing it there. It's a pretty cool game. I mean, I like what I've played. I haven't played a tremendous amount of it. I would want to get through that before I do this Tears of the Kingdom game, so who knows when that'll be. I'll probably be 50.
120 hours, sir.
So, I mean, you can't say that I'm, like, super pumped for this Tears of the Kingdom game, but I get people that are, because the game that it's based on, or that it's a sequel to, it seems like a really good game. All the other stuff, the N64 stuff is cool. I don't really care about Mario Party being on there, because those games that I play on, like the retro Switch games, playing by myself, not really playing party. I don't really care about Pokemon. 1080 was fun. Excitebike would be cool, but I mean, it's cool that they're adding more stuff to this thing, especially since you have to pay extra for the N64 stuff. They need to add more to it to make it worth it. Pikmin, that's another one. Never got into, but sounds like you like it, so probably cool. Bayonetta, I liked Bayonetta 1 a lot. So Bayonetta 3 coming it's pretty cool. Resident Evil, I'll play these on other platforms, but it's good that they're getting that stuff. Final Fantasy is another one. This is like the 18th version of Final Fantasy 7. It's like a different game, Reunion or something like that. Never been a huge fan of Final Fantasy 7 myself, but I understand a lot of people are, so it's cool. So this sounds like a very solid, like you said, I've got a lot of my stuff secondhand from what other people were saying, and people seem excited about it, so that's cool. I mean, once again, nobody was just blown away, but I think people at this point, because it's been such a shit year and a half for video games and video game news, people are just kind of like, it didn't suck. That's a positive now. They're like, it didn't suck, so let's just take solace in that. So, hey, Nintendo Direct, it didn't suck. It was solid. Everybody, my general understanding, and from what I could see, it seemed like it was really solid. So if you're a Nintendo fan, it seems like you got some really solid stuff to look forward to in the foreseeable future. Now, Sony held theirs a little bit later in the day, their State of Play. They didn't talk about quite as much stuff, but they did throw some announcements out there. Not all of them are exclusive. I think most of with the exception of Resident Evil, obviously, most of the stuff on the Nintendo side was all exclusive, but Nintendo's kind of like in their own little world over there. But Sony did announce some things, some exclusive, some not. Just some of the highlights. Tekken 8 was announced. That is a multi-plat, and it looks fantastic. What I saw of it, it looked really damn good. I've never been a huge Tekken fan. I like fighting games, but Tekken has never really been my game. But the game looked real goddamn pretty, I'll say that much. Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge Enhanced Edition is coming for PSVR 2 next year. That is already out on, I think it's on Steam. Maybe it's already available out there for those of you who want to play.
Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. Yeah, I have it on. I have it on the Quest.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah, it's on one of the two main platforms. So they're getting a PSVR version. It says Enhanced Edition. I don't know what'll be different about it, but it looked cool. I mean, it looked like it was a VR game. It looked like a VR game. I feel like VR hasn't moved forward much lately. They got Half-Life Alyx, which was a big jump, and that was like, holy shit. But since that, we really just haven't had that other thing to push us forward. So I need somebody to have something fresh and new come to VR, please. But
that actually reminds me. Did you watch the video on they had hands-on with PlayStation VR too?
No, right before we came on here, I saw someone talking about that they played with it. I know it's still wired, and but it's a better headset all around. Oddly enough, I just bought a PSVR 1. It'll be Good Friday. I got a good deal on it, so in my quest to own everything. But anyway, yeah, we're getting some PSVR 2 apparently is looking good, and they at least got a few games coming forward as well. The next Yakuza game is going to be called Yakuza Like a Dragon Ishin. It takes place in, I don't know if it's feudal Japan, but it's like samurais and shit like that in it. But it is in the vein of Like a Dragon, so really over the top, crazy. That seemed interesting. That's a multiplat as well. That's going to everything. That seemed really interesting because if you played Like a Dragon, the Yakuza games are already kind of over the top and crazy. Like a Dragon was fucking insane, and I have not played all those.
I haven't played it, but it's right here.
Huh?
I haven't played it, but that's what I hear.
Well, I haven't played a lot of the Yakuza games, hardly any of them, so I wasn't as familiar with it. I jumped into that game just because I'd heard, hey, you don't need to play the other games to get into it. That game's fucking crazy, but it's like crazy in a good way. And this one looks like it's going to be that same kind of crazy, but with a more, as a period piece. So that I am interested. That's interesting. Project Eve, which is a exclusive they've been talking about for a while, has now been retitled to Stellar Blade. Okay. I mean, it looked like a cool, it looked very near Automata. Is that what Automata?
Yeah, Automata.
Near.
It looked Automata. Yeah.
It looked like that, but prettier, just from what a little bit I saw. Hogwarts Legacy, which is also multi-plat. However, PlayStation has an exclusive mission deal where they get an exclusive mission and like an exclusive item if you get it on the PS4 and 5. They just showed one. I mean, so if you really just got to have that exclusive mission, I guess you got to get it over on the PlayStation side. Good for them. And God of War Ragnarok got a new trailer, which I've seen clips of, haven't seen the whole thing. Obviously, that's exclusive, and that's coming out in November. But apparently people are really excited about that trailer. Anything God of War they release, people are going to be really excited about. I think that's going to be a solid game. Whether it will be as good and as influential as the first one, I don't know. I honestly think God of War Ragnarok is going to be more or less... I don't think it's going to be the revolution that God of War 2018 was. I think it's going to just be a continuation of that. It's going to be more of that. But that's not a bad thing. People get offended when you say that. I don't think that's a bad thing, because the first one was a really good game. What I played of it, I enjoyed, and I have it on the PC. It was a very solid, it was a really fun game. So why would people say, hey, you're continuing that? No, it's got to be fucking... No, continuing that and just doing more of that is great. So I have no problem with that. I don't think that's a bad thing to say there. It looked like it's going to be a good game. So not as much to announce over on the Sony side, but it was all much like Nintendo, very solid. Nothing that's just like earth-shattering, but a very solid, stuff to talk about. So overall, a solid day. Did you, on the PlayStation side of things, did you see any of this, or how you feeling about this stuff as opposed to the Nintendo one?
Nothing like too exciting. Like, it's cool that they have, all this content coming out, and I do feel it was a little bit better than say everything else. But yeah, it's one of those things where I don't have a PS5. I'm not gonna be able to afford the PSVR 2. It just that's the stuff that interests me, because you have like the Horizon game coming out for it and stuff like that. But it's cool. Like I said, what they have. Like I said, Yakuza, Tekken don't really do it for me. So
yeah, the VR side of things, I have PC VR. Yeah, I'm very happy with that. But I also understand that VR is a very niche market at the moment, and they need to branch out and do something in VR in general, not just PSVR, but just VR in general. They need to do something that really that will allow that medium to mature. Because what happens is they'll have a game come out that changes things or does some really great stuff, like Half-Life Alyx or something like that, and then everybody just makes clones of that for a while, until they finally have something else revolutionary come out. Like scary games were the thing at first. They had stuff scaring the shit out of people, jump scares in VR, which are fucking terrifying, by the way. So then you got a shit ton of scary games to varying degrees. So VR really needs to mature in that respect. As far as PlayStation VR, from what I've seen, now I'm about to get a dose of that here soon, because I bought a bunch of games with it too. My understanding is that most of PSVR's games are PC VR games that have come over there. There's a few, they do have some exclusives, but what I've seen of those exclusives, not to say they're bad as far as VR goes, but they're still just kind of, they're not progressing things forward, not any more than anybody else. So it's like, I do agree. I think VR needs to do something to move that ship forward to really get that mainstream appeal. And if they just stay where they are, and they do that too much with video games in general, movies, all entertainment does it. Somebody has something great, everybody else tries to reinvent that or have that again. But VR seems like it just goes a lot slower, and it may be because the barrier to entry is a bit higher than everything else. I don't know, but this seems good, man. Two of the main three have put their stuff out. Microsoft, they had their thing a month or so ago, but these two had some stuff then too. So I don't know if Microsoft's going to have it. I'm sure that Microsoft will have some other show in the before the end of the year, showing some stuff that's coming soon. But everybody's looking fairly good. Admittedly, at this point, this stuff is more solid than what I saw from Microsoft, which is my preferred platform, is more solid than what I saw from Microsoft as a whole. Because I look at this stuff like, while I'm not super interested in a lot of the stuff from Nintendo, because it just doesn't fit me at this point, and even some of this stuff from Sony, some of it I'm more interested in, but I'm not as interested in. I understand that this is the stuff you need. And I think Microsoft has a lot of this stuff. We just haven't heard of it. So hopefully they release something soon. And even if it's stuff that I'm not interested in, I can look at it and say, that's a good move, though. So the ball is in your court now, Microsoft. Time for you to make your move. But because your two competitors have made very solid steps for the end of the year right here. But let us know in the comments below what you thought if you saw the two shows, or just from what we talked about here. Does any of this stuff interest you? Do you think that the big three are all headed in the right direction or not? Or you look at this list and say, fuck this shit, who cares? Or are you like, fuck yeah, this is going to be the best year ever? I don't think anybody's saying that, because this is not the best year of video gaming ever. But hey, if you think so, good on you. Let's move on to the next thing. Last story of the day. This is going to be a short one. This is one that I'm sure Nick is excited for. I am. And that is Maxine has been announced.
Yeah. Bow, bow.
For those of you that don't know what Maxine is, yes, I will continue to say it that way, at the TIFF, that is Toronto International Film Festival, premiere of Pearl, the sequel to X, by the way, earlier this year's horror genre film X. This week, Ty West, the director, shocked the world again by announcing the third film in his slasher franchise, Maxine. That's Maxine with a triple X in the middle. Ha ha ha. Many levels going on there, by the way. With a reveal trailer teasing star Mia Goth's return as the title character. Maxine was the name of the character, by the way, that if you haven't seen, she's one of the characters in X. I don't want to say what happens because that movie is still relatively new, so I don't want to say what happens in the end, but she is the Mia Goth's character in that film. Mia Goth is also in Pearl, plays the main character there, but it's a different character. So got to watch the movies to see why that is. The story will see Maxine finally set her sights on Hollywood to accomplish her ultimate goal of becoming a star. West said, the way that X is a movie that is informed by the affected, not infected, and affected by independent exploitation, auteur Americana, and 1970s cinema, and Pearl is perhaps affected by the golden age of Hollywood and the glitz and glamour of cinema, Maxine will be more about within the industry itself and the boom of VHS. And I have a note here that says it is coming out in 2023. I don't know where I may have pulled that out of my ass. I don't know. I think it's coming in 2023. But Nick, what do you think of it? Because you just saw Pearl, didn't you?
I did.
Ooh.
I did.
I don't know if you could talk about it yet or not, but
No.
you can't because you put a review out. Are you, after seeing, I know you really liked X. I got a basic idea of what you thought of Pearl from just us talking briefly, but is this a good move? You looking forward to Maxine based on those two, or what's going on?
Yeah, apparently Mia Goth and Ty West have become the Leo DiCaprio and was
Martin
Scorsese
Scorsese.
of the fucked up horror world, you know. Yeah, no, I mean, I put out my review for Pearl. I honestly think Pearl might be better than X when it comes to filmmaking perspective of how good Mia Goth is in it. Hell yeah, I'm ready for this. Bring it on. I'm gonna put it in my top 10 most anticipated for next year. Unless it gets pushed back like Mission Impossible Death Protocol or whatever. Fuck that name.
Maybe it'll get split into 2 movies, part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
Well,
David Daniels will be producing. I don't know.
Yes, it is coming from A24. But
Yeah, it is.
no, I haven't seen Pearl yet. I've seen X. I haven't seen Pearl. I know what Pearl's about, and I've heard good things. I expect to enjoy Pearl. Whether I'll like it more or less than X, I don't know yet. But I'm looking forward to Maxine because there's a very short teaser trailer of it that doesn't really show anything except for the name Maxine, like up in the hills, like the Hollywood sign lettering.
Yeah.
It has some 80s music, and it looks very 80s. It's even got the tracking and the static at the beginning like a VHS. I'm down for that, man. I love that era. I grew up in that era, and I love the whole look and the aesthetic and everything going on with this extremely short teaser trailer and what they're talking about. I really liked X. Pearl, while it does go further back, it's in the is it the 30s?
It's World War One.
Okay,
it's
20s.
Like
20s and the teens.
20, yeah.
But it's a different time, but similar vibe-ish. I'm digging this trailer and this trilogy, and this trilogy came out of fucking nowhere. Like,
I mean, think about it. Like, X only came out in February, and now we're getting another movie in this franchise.
Well, they made Pearl at the same time, like in secret, just as a side thing. Like, hey, we got some extra time. You want to go shoot this other thing? And then that's how they made Pearl. My understanding is that. So, obviously, they didn't do this one that way because it's, they probably, off the success of X and the anticipation for Pearl, is when he got the okay for this third version.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. The whole Maxine thing, the Triple X, because, it deals with, the adult film industry. Also, 3 X's for 3 movies and just all. I love this whole situation. There's just all kinds of shit going on here I like. And I'm really this is an anticipated movie for me. I'm really looking forward to this. And A24, they make just I'm loving A24 more and more every year. And they just put out some fantastic films.
Just the onslaught of movies they've had come out this year. They had Everything Everywhere All at Once, X, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Pearl. They've probably had Bodies.
Was that them? Okay, yeah. They had something else. There was another big one they had.
Well, they had Men, which was okay, but
yeah.
They also had like Funny Pages, which I wasn't a huge fan of. But they've been, of all the studios that released films this year, they're the ones that are the standouts. They put out so many
consistently good,
fucking good movies. Yeah, it's shocking because I didn't think 2 years ago A24 was worth their weight in gold because I think they were putting stuff out like did they put out the Ari Aster film, the one with Florence Pugh?
I don't remember.
The one where they go Midsummer or something like that.
Oh, yes, that was them because they did Hereditary as well. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of those films, but yeah, they've been.
A lot of people were though. I mean, those were both very popular, especially Hereditary. Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you. I think they're a very consistent studio right now, and they're doing some great things, especially here recently. They put out Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's all they needed to put out this year, and I would have been like, fuck yeah, A24. The Lighthouse, 2019. The movie I still can't figure out if I liked it or not, but I couldn't stop watching it.
No, you're not the only one.
I still don't know if I like that movie, but it is definitely.
Is that where he fucks a dolphin or fucks a mermaid?
A mermaid.
Or some shit?
And Cthulhu may be there. I don't know. That movie is so fucking out there. But
no, well, listen to this shit. This is what they put out. They put The Sky Is Everywhere, which I haven't seen. They put out the Fantastic After Yang. They put X, Everything or Everywhere All at Once, Men, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, Bodies, Funny Pages, Pearl, and then they have God's Creatures, Stars at Noon, After Sun, Causeway, The Inspection, and The Whale all coming out this year.
The Whale, that's the other one. Yeah, and they're a small studio. Well, smaller. Yeah. They're growing, obviously, but they are a small independent studio. That's been their thing, is they put out independent films and stuff like that. So that's awesome. I love that these like strange independent movies like this are getting the limelight now some because 3 years ago, even 4 or 5 years ago, they wouldn't have. I mean, they'd have their fans, but they wouldn't have gotten this type of audience back then. People wouldn't have seen them. So that's awesome. Good for you, A24. And Maxine looks fucking rad in the spirit of 80s-ness. So I'm looking forward to it. I think Nick is too. So you guys out there in movie land, I know there wasn't a lot to talk about here, but it's coming. That you know what? Behind us, you can't see it. It says Maxine, Triple X coming soon. They should have spelled coming different. I'm just saying. If they had done that, that's chef's kiss. That would have been they should have. Yeah, you know what I mean. You know, it would have worked. But Maxine, coming to theater or coming somewhere soon-ish. I think 2023. I wrote that on here. I don't know if that's true though, but it's coming soon. What do you think? You looking forward to it? You guys looking forward to Maxine and its 80s VHS-ness? And whenever we get it, let us know in the comments below if you are. And that is the show, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, not a lot of stuff going on in the early parts of this week. All consumed by D23, which we talked about on Saturday. Hopefully we'll have more stuff to talk about this coming Saturday. But I think we made the best of what we had to work with. And right at 2 hours. Look at us go. That seems to be the nice threshold. I guess I want to say thanks to everybody who hung out with us. I saw that Fright Films, Antonio was there. There's a few others that showed up. I had somebody over on Twitch, RVD 19152. Did you see the new Pinocchio, they say? I did. I did a review of it. It is on my channel, and it was terrible. It's goddamn awful. James Gibbs was here. Thumbs up to you as well, my friend. And whoever else showed up, thank you for showing up, Antonio. As always, man, you are a fixture here. Fright Films, you're becoming a fixture, my man. Fright Films got a YouTube channel over there as well. He just started not too long ago. Check out his channel. He's been doing lots of horror content. Got a new little series he started. Check him out. It's absolutely worth show your support to him. Of course, Antonio's got a channel he's had for quite a while with some fantastic videos on there. Go check those out. Nick, over at the Pleasure Emporium. We haven't forgot about you. Check out his channel, Movie Emporium, on YouTube, where he does all the reviews. And what have you got coming up, Nick? And tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm definitely have stuff coming soon. I can tell you that much.
But is it coming soon?
Oh, you'll have to wait and see. No, yeah, no. I like I said, I put up a review for Pearl. We had our next episode of the Fifth Dimension pop up. I'm gonna go see The Woman King tomorrow night, so I'll have a review for that up. There's a lot of films coming out this weekend. There's Woman King. There's See How They Run. Pearl's coming out. They have Moon Age Daydream, which is a David Bowie documentary, which I want to see. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're gonna record another episode of the podcast, and it's another late week, but a lot of things are happening in my life that are transitioning, so it might not be as full as I hope, but
you heard it here first. Nick is transitioning.
Yeah, that's right. I'm transitioning from Movie Emporium to Pleasure Emporium. So stay tuned for that. Oh yeah, it's gonna be long and meaty.
Long, veiny, and meaty. Anyway, yeah, check out Nick's channel over there at the Movie Emporium, aka the Pleasure Emporium. For all the good stuff when it comes to movie stuff. When it comes to movie news and sometimes movie reviews, check out my channel, which you're already at. But hit that subscribe button and that like button. Just caress it. Don't hit it. There's no need. We don't do violence here. I am a violent person on the inside. I don't really practice it. Not much anymore. Anyway, caress the like button and fondle the subscribe button. I very much appreciate it. If you'd like to support the channel beyond that, you don't have to. I'm not begging here. But if you want to, you can also gently massage the join button to join in on the memberships that I now have open. There's also my Patreon. You can go over there and rub on that as well. All you want. That's off of YouTube, so you can do all the rubbing you like. I much appreciate it. But anyway,
my thunder, damn it.
I'm trying to make this the Pleasure Emporium. All right, well, that's all we got for today. We will be back on Saturday at our regular time. Same bat time, same bat channel. and hope to see you guys all there. And I did a stream yesterday for my... Oh, I did, by the way. Anyone who tuned in on my final Dreamcast Ultimate build, it's working now. So there's that. Told you. Figured out what the problem was. I had a ribbon cable that attached the controller board to the main board, which is where power goes. It also takes power to other parts of the system that was not connected. Just totally unconnected, right there on the very top. So I told you guys after I put it together, I was like, I'm pretty sure I left something undone. That's exactly what it was. It is working now. Is up and running, and I will do a stream at some time just to kind of show off the UI and playing of games and stuff like that later on. But the build is complete, with the exception of one little light and one little decal. But I'm not going to do a stream for those. But I will show that off here at some point in some time in the next week, but I don't know when. Just keep an eye out. Anyway, for Nick, as always, and Jake, per usual, we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!